The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall continue to follow me all the days of this protracted experience of death. And I will dwell in the house of the most super intelligent, power, source, and force of love and creation forever. What's happening? Benton here. Yeah, it's a fine line. It's a fine line between proper identification and improper identification with respect to what I am, one with the most super intelligent power, source, and force of love and creation, possible at the highest levels of vibrational frequency, a quickening spirit, meaning no matter what weapon this world of death and game of lies forms against what I am is always capable of vibrating ever faster. And thus, there is no effect, unaffected by the weapons of this world. For what I am can't be touched by death, defeat, depravity, defilement, decadence. That's all in the context of, say it with me, folks, delusion. Indeed, delusion. But yes, it's a fine line. I almost veered already this morning into improper identification. However, fortunately, old Benton here is leveling up his ability to practice the spiritual practice. Sounds a bit redundant. To spiritually practice expecting the accepted at the level of persecution and spiritual attack, a la Christ in the Bible, talking about the servant is not greater than the master. And you've seen what they've done to me. What do you think they're going to do to you? Meanwhile, we also get to the I no longer call you servant, I call you friend. It's also in there. So the reconciliation of all of that, very important in my view. And certainly, Christian churches are not able to provide that reconciliation. But yes, some excellent rest and restoration and healing received in the nighttime. Had a whole day off, lamenting this morning before headed towards the first delivery, lamenting perhaps that I could have picked up a few additional items yesterday at good old Walmart. That's okay. I'll look forward to the next trip. How about that? Why not? Why not? Yes, another enjoyable day of truck driving, perhaps. We shall see. Maybe I'll start, maybe I'll pray again. There has to be a better term, but yes, maybe I will offer up, I don't know, what blessing, gratitude. There has to be a better term than pray. Although arguably, uh, in the conducting oneself based on true knowledge of self / self-realization, maybe in some ways, I guess Vincent's performance is offering himself up potentially as prey to the demons and the spiritual attackers. Again, to expect the accepted attacks while saying, demons, do your worst. That is in some ways. And I think that's part of why the Christ story gets bastardized into notions of dying for sin, the sins of the world, which is not possible or appropriate, certainly. But, the so-called good shepherd or self-declared good shepherd, Jesus Christ, in some ways offering himself up perhaps as prey. Is the sheep not prey? So the what I am, inhabiting a delusion and illusion, and in some ways, when necessary or appropriate, offering itself up as prey. Something to think about, at least. Something to consider. What up, Glenn? Good to see you, sir. He agrees. Glenn agrees. Fantastic. And I just sound sarcastic. But it's funny listening to some of these truckers covering the news, right? And about all of these fraudulent CDL licenses, commercial driver's licenses, and the fear mongering, right? Oh well, if you're going to be driving in Minnesota, make sure your paperwork's in order. It's like, hey man, I do things properly. If this system's dumb enough to take me off the road, then fuck them. I mean, I'll go do something else. I'll go sleep in a ditch somewhere. I'll fuck off to somewhere else. In my if my spotless record doesn't mean anything, I'm driving a brand new truck and pulling a brand new trailer. They can always find an infraction if they want to, right? Like, hey man, and I won't say it to them, but I'll be thinking, well, it's not like the government's been doing its job. Not that I expect that it would in the first place. But Lord knows they harassed me in New Mexico a while back, inspected me repeatedly while on record letting people who shouldn't, according to the system. Again, this is not Benton saying that they shouldn't have licenses. That's Benton ain't involved in that. This is based on the rules of the system itself. These people weren't supposed to have CDLs, and they're not abiding by the laws. And this trucker, I listened to his video, and he's doing it as a news channel, and then he's tying it into he made his own course that he's selling on how to get into box truck type stuff. He's black. The blacks are big into the box trucks for whatever reason. Not all of them, disproportionately, for whatever reason. It's a way to get up out the hood, I suppose. Oh, and before we think it's racial, your presenter here identifies with respect to employment as a beast of driven forth as a beast of burden, white nigger coolie style, and I don't mean racially. That's what I do for money. That's when Dick Gregory used to say that he said, I know exactly what I am. He said, And again, I would object to the I am phraseology, but what his meaning was is that, he's was somewhat wealthy, I guess, or at least was comfortable from his career in comedy and lecturing. And I know he made a lot of money in various other endeavors. He said, "Yeah, when I paid for my plane ticket to come out here," he said, "I know what that plane ticket pays for. I know what the taxes on that jet fuel pays for. He said, I know what I'm supporting." And employment, kind of the same thing, right? It's kind of the same thing. I know what these dollars represent. I know what the effect is. They're slow rolling this morning. 48 miles an hour merging onto the interstate. 40 motherfucking 8. Wow. Because if I hammer down and I can't go fast enough to get in front of them. Oh, now they need to be sanctified. Uh-oh. See, now they can't speed up because somebody's got to pass them to sanctify them. So now they're slow rolling me again because they want me to pass them. It's like, hey, buddy, you're going to drive faster than me, so I can't pass you. They can't even figure this out. This is your friends and neighbors who are all going to come together one day and fix. And so why would your cowardly friends and neighbors come together and sacrifice so that you don't have to struggle? And that's really what, at the end of the day, what we're talking about with all this power to the people nonsense, which is cope and fantasy, but this idea of, the sleeping giant, and, the people don't know how powerful they are. It's like, no, the people know exactly how powerful they are. They have no power. The people know that they're powerless, and they behave like they're powerless. They're not ignorant of their powerlessness. That's crazy. That's crazy talk. Now we're making traffic for no reason. See, past me, he didn't know what was going on, so he thought he was going to be able to pass his car. It's like, no, buddy, they ain't going to let you pass it. Now they're going to be sheriff of the road. All so they can look at their screen and giggle at their feed. That's your cowardly friends and neighbors. And of course, one day when this determination. The environment, and yes, the dead flesh in some ways benefits from being out in nature. I've spent as much time in nature as many, if not most of you. If you think this is a living, breathing, wonderful, potentially sustaining world, you're crazy. That's insanity. It's a dead world. Trees are dead, the air is dead, the water's dead, the floor is dead, and the fauna's dead. And your beloved pet dog, I hate to break it to you, no life whatsoever. That's just how it is. Animated death, death warmed over, just like the flesh. Ain't no life in this flesh. Ain't no life to the flesh, I guess would be the way to say it. What I am is the way. What I am is the truth. What I am is the life. See, that ain't the flesh. That ain't the body. That ain't the experience. This idea that humans are righteous. And see, that's what's interesting is Christianity would teach that effectively there's no righteous humans. But then if you talk to most Americans and most Christians especially, they operate from the idea that most humans are basically good. It's like, well, where is the evidence of that? Can you show your work, please? Or is that a cope? Is that a backwards rationalization? Does that say, well, we would find it individually, people might find it difficult to drag themselves out of bed in the morning if they were to face, the idea that, in fact, perhaps that's not the case. Perhaps the human flesh at a base level is not good and worthy of redeeming or redemption. This idea of being in a society or teamed up with other humans. Well, if somebody is a leader, and if that might potentially be me, I wouldn't choose any of these people to be on my team, and I wouldn't choose to join any of their teams. So how is this a collaborative team effort? This experience, society, community, right? And also the lie that fulfillment, is through relationships with others. This world can't provide fulfillment. This world cannot provide any of those things. This world is based on the lack of all of that. So accepting perhaps the biblical notion of where two, or is it three? I forget. Let's call it 2 to 3 or more are gathered in the name of what I am. Except for that, ain't no future in grouping up and clicking up. That's just a support group for the servants of iniquity right there. What that is. All the better to serve the corporate overlord. Hope Fest support group. No, thank you. Born alone, live alone, die alone. Oh my God, that sounds some type of way, does it? Does it really? Who cares? I've never experienced loneliness for even one fraction of a second in my adult life. Why would I give a flying fuck about people's notions of what they expect it might be like to be so-called lonely? Hey, if somebody else is lonely, that's their problem. I got my own problem. I got my own particular challenges within this dead flesh. My dead flesh did not come with the loneliness wiring. That's the proverbial you. And if I ain't talking to you, I ain't talking to you. Yeah, I definitely could have used a couple of more hours of that powerful rest, healing, and restoration this morning. But man, I can feel my tissues on my right shoulder, my right upper back, scapular area. I got deep down in there, buddy. Yes, sir. It's a little bit of crankiness, a little bit of anger rising up out of that area. Emotions escaping. Right. The healing and clearing, the resolution. Right. Those stagnated energetic forms, long trap now released. What a blessing. Indeed. 29 degrees on the dashboard. And it sounds cliche, but it's day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour. What I was talking about towards the end of yesterday's live stream, the idea of Christ ascending to the heavens. And, when I read all of that, I don't take that to mean a bodily ascension personally, but, based on the notions of most of the Christian sects, I'm sure there's some exceptions, but most of them presumably would subscribe to, certain views around the so-called body of Christ. Well, who cares? Leah, let's become even more fascinated and obsessed with death and dead flesh. All they that hate, air quote, so-called God love death. All right, well, let's focus on the dead flesh. Render unto Caesar. Let the dead bury the dead. That's what I say. See, I don't reckon there'll be a lot of intervention with me in truck driving. I reckon I'll be mostly left unmolested. And if the enforcement really does crack down, that's fine. I mean, there should be enforcement. There should be inspections. I believe in all of that stuff. Do it properly. If we're going to do the damn thing, how about we do it right? So, some of that saying, well, if they're dumb enough to take me off the road, fuck them, basically. It's like, yeah, some of that is the anger and the resentment that's, now been healed and cleared and is being released, right? That's what some of that is. And so that's what I mean by the fine line between proper and improper identification. Improper identification would be to become too identified with the anger and the resentment itself and to go on and on into some sort of diatribe lecture, autistic spaz out about the various systems and what they're doing. And next thing you know, Benton's, analytical, undiagnosed fake autism is slicing and dicing these various systems. Well, that's besides the point. That we all, we mostly know what's going on, and I'll speak for myself and the audience to some extent there. Most of us, if there's even anybody here, which is fine, but we know the drill, we know the score, and that's not an in group, that's not a club of cool kids. That's a group of it's ultimately individuals who are hopefully thinking, and if not, some people like to hear the sound of my voice, and that's fine. Also, there's a lot of content I listen to where, I'm have to focus to do my job, or I'm deeply thinking about whatever I'm deeply thinking about. Sometimes listening to somebody else on an unrelated topic is helpful for whatever reason, why ever that is. And this is for entertainment purposes only. And as we know, none of this is going to amount to a hill of beans anyway. So what's the difference? So there is no problem to solve externally. External problem solving is an error. And of course, Moloch's machine and society and status quo, social contract, conformity to peer groups loves to fool and trick and cajole and steer towards external problem solving, to steer the individual towards external problem solving. Well, that's an error. The only possibility of problem solving contextually in the now is inside me, right? What I am within the context of delusion and illusion, which then that's the mechanism that introduces the concepts of time, space, location, place, which don't exist otherwise. And a now it's here, now it's gone, now it's here, now it's gone, the present moment. And the enemy has what I am encircled in this place. You want to talk about how you considered my servant Job? Just imagine creating the subversion of the creative force, and next thing you know, there's this world as delusion, and then what I am, which is representative of supreme authority, right? Highest forms of creation, expansion, intelligence, love, acceptance, tolerance, all of these things. Next thing you know, it's in a human so-called human body, which is the dead flesh enemy. That is one of the most powerful enemies formed against what I am. And does it prosper? Well, in the long run, no. What I am is the victory over that death. And that's the Christ story, the victory over death. Christ is victory over death. Christ is not death performed in redemption of the dead sins of a world of death within the context of game of lies. That's a lie. That's a violation. That's a mockery. And that's to treat the blessing of Christ as if it were a curse, aka blasphemy in the Holy Spirit, the only so-called unforgivable sin. How has Benton solved, reconciled, and able to account for the entirety of Scripture, the so-called Christian religion, the Old Testament, the New Testament, the living word of air quotes so-called God, shing, which goeth out of the mouth like a sharp sword. I am that one. See? That's problem solving. That's accessing the power that lies within. And when the being allows their own creative force in the spirit of what they are, if they are what I am, when they allow that to be subverted into seeking anything externally, whether it's seeking, attachment, problem solving, regardless of the intention, see, it's the inverse of the gospel of Paul. Regardless of the intention, even if the intention is pure when directed outwardly or externally, it can never bear proper fruit because that's no possible way to make the tree good. The tree is in the context of time, space, location, place. Okay, where is the tree? Inside the dead flesh in the context of time, space, location, place. And it's encircled by the enemy of death, a Russian nesting doll's series of death, in fact. And what's the closest dead enemy? In proximity, it's my own dead flesh. And to even refer to it as mine is not even seemingly appropriate in this moment. And you're listening to the most powerful preaching available in this realm, in this time, in this place. Time, space, location, place. This is the most powerful preaching available to you. You're welcome. And you are welcome. It's freely given, for what I am knows nothing of conditions or constraint or withholding. See, here, take it. Do with it as you wish. Do with it as you see fit. It's your individual experience, after all. There's no crossover. There is no overlap. And the idea of a Christian church, churchianity, Christianity judgment, what I am, Benton won't be called to answer for your performance and vice versa. So realistically, who cares what you do and who cares what I do? See? Fascinating dynamics. I love it. You like it? I love it. Want some more of it? Pass the box of Life breakfast cereal. Mike likes it. What I got, better get some, get on up. Hustler of culture. Snake bitten, been bit in the face. The rhymes keep hitting. Respect is given. How you living? Never question what I am. God knows, because I'm coming from the heart. Glenn says check. Yes, mate. I say checkmate. This realm, this realm, it seems like in this realm is to be born into a chess game, and it's already checked. And most of these motherfuckers is checkmated pretty fucking quick, right? Maybe it's check. Maybe it's check when the parents sacrifice us all to Moloch as spiritually perfected babes, right? Innocent. Sign them up to a world of death and a game of lies, systems of filth and repugnance, right? Andy Dufresne, if you please, crawling his way through a sewer pipe to escape a prison, right? Shit, seems to me like that's how I came into this motherfucker. Inserted into a sewer pipe and taught how to crawl. Signed up to various systems of death, monetary systems, banking systems, corporate systems, government systems. To do what? An entire red tape bureaucracy to manage a herd of slaves, a herd of cattle, a herd of uh, unconscious beings. Again, setting aside for a moment the philosophy of solipsism, if each one of these seeming individuals is possessed of Nancy Pelosi's MS-13 spark of divinity, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. If that's the case. What? I'm almost speechless. I don't even know that I lost my train of thought at that point. It's just like, goodness gracious, is this really what's happening? Yes, but yes, the various slave systems and more and more people coming to the idea of a prison planet. It's like, yeah, I was listening to Alex Jones. I listened to Alex Jones every day for however many years, and that was one of his websites, prisonplanet.tv, I believe. So, and without martyring myself, I was a weirdo, oddball conspiracy theorist. Gene Hackman from Enemy of the State with the tinfoil hat. That was the predictive programming years ago. Meanwhile, you're just your average NPC normies in the YouTube comments calling it a fucking hell realm prison planet. Within those same people, in order to get through the day, a lot of those same people are on the toxic positivity. And I can't blame them. How else are they going to get out of bed and face the day? Right. Yeah, demons do your worst, and that includes the industry of truck driving. So I don't reckon they'll be fucking with me, just like I don't reckon the government will be fucking with me. I don't know. The state of Arkansas might try, but I think the feds are going to do it. Now, I've been thinking that I need to, make sure I don't keep very much money in my account, go to cash. But it's like at this point, fuck it, let them have it. I figured y'all already, by the time the Fed show up for me in taxes, I'll be like, shit, I'm surprised y'all didn't already take that out of my account. Did you talk to the criminal? And they'll try to say, well, you're the criminal, sir. Oh, well, that's not possible. Well, you didn't pay your taxes. Well, okay. When did I agree to do that? How can the most super intelligent power source and force of love and creation ever be guilty for not dealing in death? They say death and taxes, can't be avoided. So now you're going to tell me that by default, what I am, supreme intelligence, supreme authority, supreme beingness, is that even possible for what that is to be guilty based on dead systems of dead money, and dead banking, and dead business transactions within a dead flesh? Fuck out of here, man. I ain't got time for this. They say, what do you mean? I say, well, America's still pretending to have a Bill of Rights and a Constitution. That First Amendment, something about freedom of religion, and I wouldn't necessarily refer to it as religion, but I'm going to go ahead and invoke that render unto Caesar, which I take to have the same meaning as let the dead bury the dead. So you're here, I'm here in the dead flesh, so you're welcome to it. What else can they really do? What I am can't be killed. What I am can't be born. What I am can't die. No beginning and no end. And the government can seize the dead flesh anytime it wants. I'm not in control of that. Just like I told the guy, this guy that owns this trucking company, when we had a disagreement, he was threatening by implication to do certain things that I won't get into that would involve my driving record and such, or maybe my drug testing and all of this. I said, I don't control any of that. I said, that's on you, buddy. So I have no control over any of that. Well, why would I fear it? It doesn't make any sense. I have no control over what these so-called authorities do. And I will not conduct myself based on the idea that the only way for the government to show up and seize me and throw me into a dungeon is that I have to have done something wrong. Hey, buddy, guess what? When properly identified, I can't be wrong. I can't do anything unrighteously. It's not possible. Only by falling into improper identification, guess what? I will immediately notice it. I will immediately course correct, and I will immediately confess, repent, seek forgiveness, and I will immediately be forgiven like it never happened. So what are you going to tell me? Nothing. What I'm describing is a process of so-called beating the game. Benton has beaten the game. Benton's won. If this is a computer simulation, I've finished the main mission and defeated it. Now it's apparently side missions, and maybe eventually I can unlock an Easter egg and ascend to the heavens, whatever that means. Beam me up, Scotty. Can I get the fuck up out of here? But what I am certainly is not impatient. So 30 more years, 1,000 more years. What's the difference? It's all delusion. It's all now it's here, now it's gone, now it's here, now it's gone. You want to talk about a mundanity, the now it's here, now it's gone of the present moment. What's more mundane than that? You want to talk about fleeting. It's already gone. It's already fled. It's already retreated because that's its nature. It's the lack of boldness. It's the lack of sustainability. It's the lack of stick-to-itiveness. Now, it's certainly persistent because as it flees, it's also returning to the present moment. Now it's here, now it's gone, now it's here, now it's gone. And isn't that a duality? I see the coming and the going. I see the captains and kings. I see them little blue uniforms. See them bright, shining things. Bright, shining things. Yeah. I was listening to that, didn't know what I was listening to. In the 1980s, my spirit knew what the spirit of what I am knew what it was listening to. What up, Catch 22? Yeah, I don't know that I needed a full day of rest, but certainly took full advantage of the restfulness by doing almost nothing. I wish I'd bought a little. Well, wish might not be the appropriate term, but I could have bought more watermelon. That's really just about the only thing. I've been hurt by too many bad watermelons at Walmart, though. So they've been those little mini watermelons been quite good. The ones I've been getting anyway. So I had my last watermelon yesterday, but good stuff. 61 miles from the delivery. I'll be early. A lot of these sites are so small and cramped, and the buildings are so small. Hopefully, I'll get there before anybody else, and I can scope it out. Although this one looks like it's got a gate that they lock, but maybe I can at least walk around the other side of the fence and try to get an idea of what I'm going to be faced with. For some reason, they build all these and I guess it's because of straight trucks, little box trucks. So a lot of these buildings have like one or two proper docks, but there's, it's really not set up to facilitate a rig of this size. That's all right though. Snow plowing in northern Michigan. Is that what you're doing? Yeah, I've been in some heavy snow in Michigan, certainly. And when you say northern, I'm assuming we don't mean Upper Peninsula. That's one of the few places in the U.S. I've never gone, and I've come close a few times, but just never have. Of course, I'd go in the summer, mostly just to check it out, lay my own eyes on it. Of course, there's really nothing there as far as towns. When I say nothing, it's just sparsely populated. And, for an outsider, just showing up, assuming there's not a lot to do other than, I'm not going to go fishing or whatever. Maybe some hiking. But, I can do that anywhere, pretty much. I made it down to the Florida Keys, and it was just more of a. I'm glad I did it, but it's neither here nor there for me. I think probably the Upper Peninsula would be the same deal, but we'll see. Yeah, I'd say the heaviest snow I've experienced as a truck driver has been Michigan. Ain't no joke. It's funny because Caleb Hammer, the financial audit guy, he grew up in Michigan and now he lives in Texas. And somehow he got that Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, on his show, and she was busting his balls about him moving out of Michigan, and the first thing he mentioned was the winter, and she said, "Oh, you've gone soft," which I love that, man. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, sure, of course he has. That's a whole nother beast dealing with that Texas summer, but yeah, I agree. It's gone soft. I'd get tired of it after a while, but in the short term, in a vacuum, been there, done that. Yeah, very desolate. There you go. Bluto. Bluto said it. Very desolate in today's world. Yeah, there you go. Well, just trying to get cell service alone. It's like I got to have my internet, right? I don't have to, but I'm used to having my internet, at least. The internet did not work that great at the truck stop. I'm wondering if it was just the network got congested. Probably so many people were off of work for the holiday and not in their normal routine, I'm guessing. We were right by a tower, so it would have had to have been network congestion. Just some minor annoyances, though. But yeah, barring the unforeseen, other than whatever, how nightmarish these deliveries could, or I won't know till I get there. But other than that, uh, my deliveries on the east side of Atlanta, Norcross, Georgia. And I'm already assuming I'm going to go all the way to the other side of Atlanta. I'm in rush hour traffic to get loaded. I mean, that's just pretty much how that goes. Not always, but pretty high chance of that for whatever reason. But it's Friday, so as long as I get loaded, most likely won't have to do much else other than park for the night. Of course, you never know when they might try to have me do multiple pickups. That's always a possibility. Forget about that. So we'll see. Nice, gigantic potholes. Yeah, wood heat. Sure. Yeah, a lot of work unless you got money. Pay somebody else to do all that work. But what fun would that be? I've split a decent amount of wood in my time, that's for sure. Hell, I guess if I'd been a little more on the ball, I could have figured out stop at one of these Walmarts en route. But it just now occurred to me I don't even really want to fuck with it in the moment here. Oh, okay. This is why they're slowing down. It's about to be 55. And I ain't from here, so I didn't know that. So they're already slowing down before it. But for some reason, we're slowing down to 50. All right. That's interesting. Sure what that's all about. Fuck me, dude. My lane's it. Like just when I think I'm in the lane, proper lane, I look up lane ends. Other lane is exit only. Jeez. Jeez Louise. 2026. There's some elaborate holiday display on the roof of the Randy Marion Ford dealer. I don't think there'll be much traffic this morning. See, shouldn't be. See the Popo up yonder. So got somebody pulled over. The way people have gotten these days, blocking me in and not letting me change lanes, I'm going to go ahead and get over. Because if I try to wait till I get up there, probably won't be able to. Of course, what dum-dums trying to pass me on the right. A cop with his blue lights on the shoulder. Just out of it, man. No idea what's going on. Just oblivious. No clue. Indianapolis to Chattanooga, Blue Doe. Leave at 4 a.m. Oh, yeah, that's smart. The earlier, the better. Yeah. Well, and, when I don't have shit to do, which is most of the time if I'm not truck driving in my little car that I no longer have, and I would just mostly avoid myself. I would avoid the interstate. I'm not recommending this. I'm saying this is what I used to do. I just take the fucking U.S. highways or whatever. Uh, in the modern world, so called, you probably have to be somewhere at a certain time. I'm assuming. Why am I smelling onions? Is my damn? Maybe the fridge didn't get closed all the way. Anyway, I don't know that I'm out of stuff to say. I just, there's enough driving going on. Even though there's not a lot of traffic, I'm having to constantly be doing stuff and looking around, sort of diverting my attention. But yeah, I guess with the direction of these broadcasts, further evolution of the discourses, there is seemingly less and less to actually convey over time. It seems like. Still got 42 minutes to go. Haven't even had a bathroom break yet. Gonna have to try to schedule some home time pretty soon, as much as I don't want to. Got to get to a Whole Foods at some point. I'm back on my prunes, man. If there's anybody that sells proper prunes, I haven't found this. All the ones I find got potassium sorbate in them, which is a no-no. Makes the prunes not work for their intended purpose. Neutralizes the effects. We're running low on dark chocolate too. Speaking of that, it's almost time for more coffee. I could wait, but I won't. Probably should. It's still ain't even daylight yet. Down to my last can of nitro cold brew. But I got the Stoke cold brew. I'm not a fan of this, but you know, it's a readily available source of caffeine. But you sip to that. I guess I missed my chance to buy a Google 10 on discount. I looked on Amazon, the prices are back up again after, I guess, the holiday season discounts. That's all right. Yeah, I guess we'll just hang out. The non-tent portion of the stream has commenced. Probably started about 10 to 15 minutes ago, I suppose. Although not all the spiritual discoursing and the preaching and the sermon, it doesn't all have to be extended, right? Or long form. Hit it pretty hard for about 30 to 40 minutes. That's good enough. Man, I don't know if just my feed's fucked up or what, but I'm not. And the holidays is notoriously slow for YouTube content anyway, but I'm not finding much of nothing. I was relegated to old Howard Stearns, and not even that so much as Artie Lang's second book. I listened to a lot of that. And what else did I listen to over my break? I don't even remember. That's a good question. I think I just vegged out. I find that beneficial at times. Just do as close to nothing as possible. Right. That's pretty much was my day yesterday. As close to nothing as possible. Yeah, I guess we're coming into Charlotte now. It says express lane entrance. Yeah, this must be the start of it. Might have missed my chance to take a bathroom break. I didn't think about that. Probably missed it. Although traffic's light enough, I could probably just, like here, I could have pulled over. There's an exit only lane. Go on the shoulder on the other side of that. It's too late now, of course. Greg Biffle. It's like, yeah, I don't really keep up with NASCAR, but I'm assuming I've heard that name before. But he's a big deal. I wasn't aware of it. Guess he's died in a plane crash or something. I don't know, man. Somebody's asking about Trump saying this might be our last election or something. I've been hearing a lot of that sort of talk. So I have no idea. I don't really pay attention to any of that stuff. I mean, I'm assuming that's what you're saying because remember, StreamYard there's a dollar sign over the far right side of the most recent comment on my screen. So I'm just guessing as to what that word may be. I'm assuming it's election. Because everything's a business and they want me to click that dollar sign so it'll remind people to possibly sign up for StreamYard and pay them money. Shit, that would have worked too. It didn't look like I could fit. Still trying to look for somewhere to pull over. Yep, that would have worked. I think it still will. It's one of these. If I don't do it now, the damn eyeballs will be floating by the time I get to the delivery. All right, BRB. Oh, man. Oh, goodness. Okay. Okay. Last what? That's an X. Oh, Christmas. Last Christmas. No, I don't know. Like I say, I can't even. I've gotten to where I can't even deal with that stuff anymore. Realistically, if somebody wanted to make their own content and weave it in somehow and make it interesting and talk about it, I'd listen. But beyond that, I can't be fucking bothered. No offense. You double check my route. I think I'm on the. I think I chose the alternate route, so I want to make sure. Sometimes it reroutes and doesn't tell me, or I'm not looking at the screen. But yeah, we're good. Well, the thing about that is, I mean, Christmas ain't that great anyway. Number one, number two, if the Moloch's machine decides that Christmas is canceled, then Christmas is canceled. You know, and it seems to me like there's some idea of a changing of the system, or communist revolution or whatever. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but don't they get rid of a lot of the religious connotations within society, right? And especially, I think if you look at the laws not really being enforced, violent criminals getting released from prison and all of this, which is not a new thing, but seems to be status quo in a lot of areas, paroling violent criminals repeatedly. But the idea of emptying the jails and all of this, I don't know. It would take a lot to surprise me at this point. But I try not to pay any attention to anything any of these folks say if I can help it. While kind of half-assed keeping up with the overall themes, right? And I know people will talk about the possibility of Trump somehow remaining president, but assuming that things continue on as they have in America, meaning a new president in a few more years, be interesting to see who that ends up being. Are we going back to all lane changes occur directly in front of my big rig? Is that what we're doing? Although really, I'd rather they pass me anyway for the times that I'm taking that exit and then I end up driving to wherever I'm delivering with 10 cars up my ass the whole way. It's like, oh, that's just amazing how I happened to get here just ahead of the arriving shift, or the arriving incoming shift at this facility. You wouldn't believe the amount of times that's happened while I'm fumbling around in the darkness trying to figure out where I'm supposed to be. Thinking, why didn't these people pass me up on the big road? Guaranteed cash offer on your home. Art, art is community. Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, Bank of America headquarters is here. And this is one of the most. And I don't use the term boring very often, but I've spent a decent amount of time in Charlotte. There's really nothing going on, or there wasn't. I don't know about now, but there's nothing really going on. Boring. Do remember camping out at a Walmart. Forget which town it was in, but in the suburbs, and they had public transit that would go downtown Charlotte. It was like 15 miles. And I don't know why. Can't remember why I was going, but it must have been some kind of reason I had to go into Charlotte, some kind of personal business, I'm assuming, and can't recall. But it's like torrential downpoured all day, and somehow I was able to get on the bus and get down there and do my business and get back. I had one of those, an actual like army poncho, and I managed to somehow stay dry. I think that would have been one of the rare times I just left my tent or my tarp or whatever I was rocking back then. I would have, and I would have, of course, checked the weather and all of that. And sometimes I would camp if I found a good spot. I would camp in the same area for maybe a week, 2 weeks. So I know I've been in that one little area behind a super center a few different times in my travels, and then I tried to find it in my little car just out of curiosity and couldn't find it. And that's kind of back to my theory or hypothesis around during the pandemic. I think the government was aware of a lot of these camp areas where people would camp out, transients. It almost seemed to me like they did whatever and I don't know anything about plants and trees growing and stuff, but it seemed to me like a lot may have been done to try to get those areas to grow back up, because over time, if enough people are coming through there regularly enough, you got just bare ground, and there's not a lot of brush and growth. So it became fairly easy over time to figure out, you know. And then the cycle of homeless people kind of camped out in one area, doing a lot of panhandling, sort of wearing out their welcome and maybe getting drunk and going to jail. Cops crack down on them, whatever. Double check the route. Yeah, shit, I can't even remember now. Okay, yeah, there we go. And as far as Trump, I mean, at this point, to me, it just seems completely pointless to even think about politics whatsoever because, the American people in their state of powerlessness are not engaged in a political process anyway. So it's like, well, what's the point? You know, I figure I can just more or less observe what people are, again, relegated to. What's I used to be kind of into politics, just mostly for my own entertainment, something to keep up with, but it seemed pointless. And I'm really turned off by how many people think that they can just run around saying, well, blame everything on Democrats and don't vote for Democrats. If that's going to, it's like, yeah, well, that's fine, but that won't fix anything. Like, that doesn't help anything. It doesn't do anything. Just what about Republicans? Is anybody that was around for Bush Cheney and didn't disavow the Republicans is out of their mind. Like, what did the Republicans ever do to atone for Bush Cheney? I know at one point, Chalk Body Outline, Drew World Order was YouTube channel. He was talking about, just noticing that the Democratic Party is seemingly at like an all-time low. And how do they come back from this? And my response was, whatever the Republicans did to come back from Bush Cheney, which was an all-time low. I mean, I don't know. They're somehow back on top and seen in some ways as the savior of everything. So I don't know. Maybe ask them. Ask them how they done it, because you know, the lows of that administration are just as low as whatever's going on right now with us so-called Democrats. It's just like the bailouts, you know. I understand that if I have a prepaid debit card account, you know, somewhere it ends up being tied into a big bank. But when I saw what happened in 08, 09, I just decided, okay, I'm just done. I'll never deal with these big banks ever again. You know, why didn't more people choose that? You know, they went from being angry and, you know, outraged about all of these bonuses paid to these, you know, executives, and then went right back to doing business with Wells Fargo and Bank of America and whoever else. Like, well, what's the point then? Anyway, I guess I'll get out of here. Thanks for watching. Bye.